at lovedreamingbeach.com.
Sitting in my car waiting for my kids to come out of the little ice cream shop. And oh crap, they don't have my plate. So I think he's saying they only have pineapple with coconut, which is fine. I had said I wanted pineapple or coconut. They only have both together. We'll see. Okay, he says okay. And there's a lady going by and she's wearing the same pants that my son has on. Well, similar. Anyway, so, you know, as I've been making videos about the love lie, the marriage trap, you know, growing up in a misogynistic patriarchal society, many men are just raised with this expectation from birth, essentially, that certain jobs and roles, housekeeping and childcare, that these are women's jobs, and men are taught that because you know, maybe they're not taught explicitly exactly in this terms, but it's like because women are the ones that carry the babies, they're the ones that are expected. It's like, oh, it's only natural that they're the ones that should have to do all of the child care. And it's not only natural, actually. It's much more natural for both parents to do it. And there are good men. There are men who they pick up the extra slack when their wife is growing their baby. They do extra chores. They do extra housework. They make the house more comfortable. They get the house ready for the baby. If they already have kids, they take care of the children extra. And that's how it should be. I've been pregnant twice. I know how physically exhausting it is. I know how physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually demanding every second of every day and every night. They only got the little girl ice cream. I guess the boy didn't want some. And neither did the mom. She looks like she could be their big sister, though. But anyway, God, she's pretty. So, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Is it the case that there's no men who do that? No, of course not. There are, but those are the outliers. Those are the exceptions to the rule. Those are the unicorn, the special, unique find. And that's what I was thinking as I was walking through the park. That, wait, how did they leave? How they left? They went over there way after my kids, and they're back already. It's just, you know, I think I said this in another video. Once you get the taste of freedom, and in my case, freedom is like a limited sense of freedom because I have 2 young boys and I have to work all the time. And I was saying, like, today I didn't do that much work. I procrastinated a lot of my work, and now I'm gonna go home and I really have to get the work done. I don't want to leave it all for tomorrow. So I have to work late tonight, and that was my poor time management. And you know, my one son was at his sports practice and my other son had his tutor appointment, so I had to drive. Okay, they just paid. I was driving one to tutor. Well, his practice was right after school, so he walked there, and then I drove my one son to tutoring, and then I went to go pick up my other son from his practice. And then I was able to get a walk around the park a couple laps, which was good. I got a little bit of exercise. And then we had to drive to go pick up my other son from tutor, and now here we are getting ice cream, and they're coming back to the car. And then I gotta go home, and I gotta go to work. And now it is the morning, and I am driving home from dropping my kids off at school. So just to continue what I was saying yesterday about the marriage trap and how men are taught from a very young age that housework is girls' work, that taking care of babies is women's work, that cooking and cleaning is women's work, that men are smarter and stronger, that certain jobs are only for men, and domestic jobs are for women, that men are doctors and women are nurses. There's even terms. For example, people say doctor, but then they say woman doctor. People say nurse, but then they say male nurse. And of course, they don't have to say it every time, and it's not necessary at all. However, because our society is so deeply misogynistic, those are the terms that people use, because when you say nurse, people automatically assume that you're talking about a woman. So they say male nurse, because if you don't say male nurse, people will assume it's a woman. And they say woman doctor, female doctor, because again, if you don't say it, they'll assume. There's even a joke, a quote unquote joke, that goes, a teenage kid is in an accident, a car accident, and he's rushed to the hospital. As he's rushed to the hospital, they bring him into surgery, and the doctor says, "Oh my God, that's my son." But it's not his father. Who could the doctor be? This is an actual joke, and many, I don't know if it's a joke, but this is an actual riddle or whatever. And so many people cannot figure it out, that the doctor is his mother. And it's like absurd, and it's enraging, and yet it's actually, look, there's a Michigan license plate, and I'm not in Michigan or anywhere near it. So it's just frustrating, and then of course I go out, I see men, they look nice, they look fine. I see couples walking around. Yesterday at the park, as I walked around, there were a couple of different couples. There was one couple sitting on the bench having a chat, and the man was pointing stuff out to her, and there was another couple walking around, and they were holding hands the first lap, and then they weren't holding hands the second lap, but they were having an interesting conversation. I don't know if it's interesting. They were talking to each other. And again, this is not about male bashing or male hating. This is about patriarchal bashing and patriarchal hating. That I despise rules that tell one group of people that you are meant to be waited on hand and foot. All the hard work that nobody likes to do. Nobody wants to do dishes and laundry, washing and drying and folding and putting away. Nobody wants to scrub the bathroom and the toilet and sweep up and mop up and dust and all of the fucking annoying things. Nobody wants to have to, I'm saying nobody. There's some people who truly enjoy cleaning. There's some people who truly love cooking. But that doesn't mean just because you love something that you want to have to do that thing every single day. Thankless, monotonous, repetitive. Just like this whole idea that all of the fucking grunt work that nobody wants to do somehow just magically happens to be a woman's work. It's so fucking sexist, misogynistic. It's so abusive and taking advantage, and it's like a daily thing. It's not like when I was on that live last time and these fucking loser men, they are such losers. They're absolutely proud to proclaim and to share on a public forum that they are incapable of taking care of their most basic needs, and that they're proud of this. Not only are they proud of it, but they have the audacity to demand that someone else is responsible for taking care of their basic needs. And it's just the most despicable. It's sickening. And men like that are plenty. They're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere, like a fucking parasite, which they are, a parasite. If you are a grown-ass man who has to behave like a fucking baby, who needs a mommy to take care of you, you are not a viable candidate to be a partner. You are a viable candidate to be a fucking invalid, a burden, and extra work. And believe me, your dick is not fucking a magical wand that can make up for all of that shit. And the fact that you mow the lawn and get an oil change a few times a year. It's like this fucking loser was like, I said you'd mow the lawn 3 to 4 times a year. And he's like, obviously you don't mow the lawn. And then somebody was like 26 times. Bitch, if you're mowing the lawn 26 times, then like I said on that live, you are fucking using that as an excuse to get outside and to get out of doing anything else, because there's no way on earth that you need to mow the lawn that frequently. You're just wasting time, and you are avoiding doing all the other work. Yesterday I saw a clip of a man pretending to be his wife, and then the wife was pretending to be him, and he was like, so he's pretending to be the wife, and he's walking into the bedroom, and he's, bringing the wife who's pretending to be the husband in, and he's like, did you even make the bed? And she, pretending to be he, is like, yeah. And then like the blanket's just a little bit crumpled on one part, and she's like, but you didn't make it nice. You have to make it nice. And then like the whole thing, it's like, again, it's like he's pretending like he can't see that she is pretending to be him, pretending that he can't tell that the blanket is crumpled up. And so the whole video was like this stupid, like weaponized incompetence thing. Like, the woman is obsessed about having her bed made a certain way, and the man is incapable of understanding it, even though he literally sleeps on the bed every single night. Which brings me back to a flashback of my own stupid ex-boyfriend, my baby's daddy. We had been living together for years, and one day I was like, and he's like, I don't know how. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you don't know how to make the bed? He's like, I don't know how to make it. I smell gas in my apartment. Do I smell gas? Hold on. pilot light is out again. So anyway, that was a big fight with my ex. Like, and he's like, I don't know how you like it. I'm like, I like it with the fucking blankets on. I like it with a sheet and then the blankets. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not a fucking rocket science. I'm not over here doing hospital fucking corners. Like, not even close. Like, I'm the least picky. Well, I won't say that. I do like my bedding to be neat and tidy. My hair is not neat and tidy. But not at all, like I said, not hospital corners. I don't have a bunch of extra pillows, although I do now. At the time, I didn't. Now I have pillows over there. That's my sweatshirt. I have this long big pillow. I've got these other little pillows, whatever. But so then I see a comment. This one comment, not just one like it, but this specific one where a guy's like, I'm not allowed to make the bed. And I respond, oh, I guess that weaponized incompetence is really working in your favor, huh? Like, let's just pretend that we can't do basic tasks, and then that way we won't have to do it. I saw, okay, there, I relit these pilot lights, close it gently. Oh, fuck. That could have been enough to put it out. And in fact, it did. Jesus, fuck. Okay. I am gonna have to move sooner than later. But this is the shit that I'm talking about, that a man will on purpose do a job so poorly that his partner will say, never mind, you don't have to do it, which is exactly what he wanted her to do. Instead of her insisting that he learn how to do it the proper way. And again, these are the same men who will claim, I work and pay the bills. So you're so supposedly competent that you're working and paying the bills, but yet you're so incompetent that you can't figure out how to make a bed. And even if it's like, oh, well, my wife likes it made a specific way. You can't figure out how your wife likes to make the bed. Right? We're not talking about you're with a different woman every night and it's a different way. No. You're talking about the same woman, the same bed, the same pillows, the same room. But yet you can't figure it out, or you just choose not to. That's what I'm saying. You choose to pretend that you're incompetent. It's called weaponized incompetence, so that you don't have to do something. Again, this leads me back to what I was saying in the other video, which I don't think I've shared yet, but where I'm talking about, don't live with a guy, don't buy a house with him, don't have the same bedroom. I don't, and then of course I also had to add that I realized that, not everybody can afford a separate bedroom, but maybe, don't move in with him. Definitely don't move in with him because it's financially cheaper, because then you're just putting yourself in a bad situation and you won't have the finances to get out of it. If you can't afford that apartment without the guy, then you're trapped and you become susceptible to whatever, his whims. Because if you're not financially free, I know a woman I won't say who, let's just say a friend of mine. She's been with her guy for close to 20 years. And so she went through some financial hardship. She was laid off. She couldn't find a job for a while. And, luckily he was still earning. Now, again, I know for a fact that even though this guy does dishes sometimes, I know for a fact that she's cooking and cleaning and doing all the food shopping and maintaining the home. And every time there's a holiday or a birthday or whatever, she's the one who, she will be cooking, like a fucking feast. And like I said, all the fucking work. She's doing all the work. So for a while, he was the one paying the bills. And even though she's still doing 95% of the work in the home, she feels, well, first of all, she's not financially independent because she didn't have an income, but she still feels somehow guilty, like he is supporting me, even though she is literally slaving away day and night for this man, and has been for almost 2 decades. And anyway, so during this time, she's going through a lot, and she's also starting to question this relationship, because although she loves him dearly, she cares about him, the fact is that things have changed. He's not making effort in their relationship. They've become a lot more like roommates over the years than a romantic couple. And she starts like seriously contemplating, is this really what I want? Like for the rest of my life? I care about him. I love him, but I just don't know if, the person that I was almost 20 years ago is still compatible in this relationship all these years later. But she was financially basically she was dependent on him at that point. And like I said, a man, not him, luckily, he hasn't, that I know of, he hasn't intentionally made her feel like somehow he's the one, because he's paying the bills, that she's not doing her share. As far as I know, he hasn't done that, but a lot of women end up feeling that way anyway, because again, our society does not value the hard work at home. People don't value how difficult it is to maintain your home, to do the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and everything, like it sounds easy to say cooking and cleaning and laundry, but that shit takes hours and hours and hours every day. And if you're going to cook more than one meal, oh my God. Like, I don't have breakfast. I've never been a breakfast person that I can remember. My body's just like, I'm not hungry enough in the morning to start eating. And so I've never been a breakfast person, but many people are. Many people make breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's just, like I said, it's constant. It's thankless. It's, you do dishes and then you turn around and there's more dishes. You do laundry and you turn around and there's more laundry. And it's just the fact that people think that this ongoing, never-ending, constant flow and influx of chores is just automatically the lady's job, the woman's job. It's just it's so fucking aggravating. So anyway, there she was. Like, even if I wanted to leave him, I couldn't, because where am I going to go at this point? And I don't have like the financial independence and security to just go. So lucky for her, she's got a job now and pays well. And and I had advised her, I said, well, it's very difficult to make a decision like that when you're in a position of feeling dependent And you don't have the independence and the financial freedom to come and go if you choose. So you can't, you're not, whatever you're feeling could be, also tied to that. And then I said, you also, your feelings will change as you become financially independent again. And then you can see, are you really unhappy in the relationship? Was it just the financial position and that made you feel unhappy? Or has this relationship really run its course? But, you won't know. I mean, my advice to her was get that job, start saving your money, and, you're going to have to let some months pass so that you can get trained in the job and get stable and figure out, because sometimes the first 90 days are very a lot of times they don't say it outright that 90 days is a probationary period, but there's always like a probationary period when you first start a job, because they have to see if you're going to do the job well, if you're going to get along with everybody, if you're going to understand, and, basically, are you worth it? Do you do the job that they need you to do in a reasonable fashion and a reasonable time and all that stuff? So you can't just get a job the day one and then be like, okay, I'm out. And plus, she doesn't have any savings saved up. So I said, you get your job and focus on that. And then, in the next few months, when financial stability starts to grow and the confidence and security that, okay, this job is going to work out, once you get to that level, then you can start to reassess your romantic feelings. And, are you feeling more settled because now things are, looking up for you, and so you don't feel so dependent, and that maybe alleviates some of the strain in the relationship. Maybe you can be more lighthearted again. Maybe you guys will find, reconnections and stuff. Or maybe not. And then the financial independence and the higher self-esteem, because you're employed and you're getting shit done, then that will give you the freedom to make the decision to leave if that's what you ultimately want to do. But this is why I am suggesting and advising women, don't get yourself trapped in a situation where you are financially dependent on a man, because then you can't make healthy decisions for yourself and your children if you have children. You can't make an honest, genuine, authentic decision about what you want to do and where you want to be if your motivation comes from like your basic needs. Where are you going to live, how are you going to eat, and where are you going to put your stuff? Like, if that is unclear and insecure, you can't make a healthy decision about your romantic situation. So I am at the point where I have not been with my baby's daddy for 12 years. I've been living in this apartment for 10. And I'm going to have to move soon, I think. The people downstairs who've been down there for 10 years, lucky for them, they bought a house in another town. But unluckily for me, now that they're going to move out in a few days, the landlord who purchased the house as an LLC could potentially move in to the first floor, or at least pretend that they're moving in. And once a landlord actually lives in the home, you have a lot less rights. So as a tenant, which is the one reason why I would never live. The reason I would never live in a 2-family home that the landlord lives in is because at one point I had purchased a home. I think I mentioned this some videos ago, that many years ago, me and my first fiance bought a house together where I ended up leaving him and walking away from hundreds of thousands of dollars I was entitled to out of guilt and stupidity and immaturity and having nobody to guide me. And we lived there, and we were landlords, and that's how I learned. If you live there, you can evict a tenant for any reason. However, if you have a 2-family home and you do not live there, you have a lot less rights as a landlord over how you can evict people. So anyway, I'm probably, so like, there are so many things inadequate about my apartment that I know once I get in, I'm praying that I find an apartment that's better, although it's going to be probably almost double what I'm paying now. And not really, like, I might be able to actually do it, but I certainly don't want to, because it's going to be the price of a mortgage that I'm already paying, almost the price of a mortgage, not a mortgage in my town, but in other places. But so anyway, there's a lot of things about this apartment that severely need an upgrade and that have been nowhere near good enough. But the price is right, and it allows me to have a little bit of spending money, to be able to give my kids allowance regularly, to be able to buy, various things here and there if I need to or want to, and not have to be completely strapped every single month or week. And I'm able to pay for the tutor for my son, and he's got some kind of school trip coming up that's going to cost $200, and little things like that living in this apartment allow me to afford, where if I have to go somewhere where it's double, I'm going to be probably back to month just scraping by, and one check for 2 weeks, not even being the full rent. And then it becomes, now I'm living off of a week and a half. Like, it's just, it's really fucking awful. And there's no town. Like, first of all, I live in this town. My children go to school here. I have no desire to leave this town. I love this town. It's my hometown. I've been living in this town again after I'd moved away, and I moved back. It's been 17 years. But rents are expensive. Rents are outrageous. And I just don't know what I'm going to do. So anyway, yeah, if I had fucking made better choices, made financially sound choices, if I had not allowed the fact that I didn't want to marry that guy to be the reason why I just fucking literally handed him the house that I had spent all this money on, then that was 27 years ago. But if I had $100,000 25 years ago, I think I would have been in a better position right now. So don't be stupid and make the same mistakes I made or similar mistakes. Be smart and learn from other people's mistakes. Anyway, it's time to go to work. Bye.
GetLoveDreamingPeach.com. GetLoveDreamingPeach.com.
Hey, it's Thursday, and I'm driving home from dropping my kids off at school again. Today they have a short day because there's parent-teacher conferences, and I have a conference at 2 o'clock. I still have not worked on that frickin' video that I'm supposed to have finished by today, but sad that the person I have to do the call with lost a friend in a terrible accident. Their friend passed away, and the funeral is today, which is very sad, but it also gave me the day that I can get it done. And then yesterday I had a call that's normally supposed to be at 11 a.m., but it got moved to 4:30, and then I had like a bunch of other little things I was doing, and I was making and posting a little video for social media for the same client. And so by the time I was like done with all the stuff, it was 9 p.m. and I was like, I am too tired just to get into the video today. So today I am going to power through this video, and it is my goal to have this thing done as fucking early as possible. So I am going to, I know that lady. So I'm going to go home and start working on it as soon as I possibly can, and just power through this. It's kind of, you know, I don't even mind the work. It's just like, ugh, sometimes it's just so tedious. But anyway, this is what I want to do, I think. So anyway, continuing on a little bit of the talks that I've been doing. I was talking to my son, my 16-year-old son, and I was telling him how, you know, it's so important to me that I teach him and his brother how to be a good person. And I mean, I feel like, you know, people are good people in general, but I mean, how to be a good person in this society, in this patriarchal society, and how not to turn into one of these entitled men. And I was telling him, I said, a lot of grown men, they act like you and your brother, you know, meaning my kids don't do their chores the way they're supposed to. I'm on them constantly. It's a constant battle to get them to focus on doing their chores. But part of what I'm doing is trying to teach them that, first of all, it's just basic, like, personal care. You have to know how to shower, how to brush your hair, wash your parts all properly, hang up your towels, don't put your wet towels on the bed, wash your towels regularly, wash your bedding every few days, change your pillowcase every other day, clean up after yourself after you eat. If you make something to eat, clean up after yourself, put things back away, you know, make the bags airtight and properly close them, and, you know, wash and dry and fold and put away your clothing. Don't throw your clothes on the floor, put them in the hamper, and, you know, flush the toilet every time. Get your hair out of the sink or the shower, and, you know, wash some dishes. I'm trying to teach them how to vacuum and sweep up, and we got to get into mopping and scrubbing the toilet, scrubbing the shower, all the things. The list is pretty much endless. You know, when we go food shopping, they have to come inside and help me. They have to help me get the groceries out of the cart onto the, you know, the conveyor belt thing where you pay. Sometimes we do self-checkout. Sometimes we go to the cashier. They have to help me bag. They have to help put the stuff in the car. They have to help carry the stuff out of the car to the house. They have to help put this stuff away. They have to help fold the bags. They have to help when we go donate the bags to, you know, Goodwill or whatever, Salvation Army. There's a lot of freaking help that needs to be helped. There was a line in the Mickey Mouse where Pete, like the dog, he was like, help. He said, help, can somebody help with some helpful help? And I was like, oh my God, that is the theme of my life. Help, can somebody help with some helpful help? Exactly. You said it best, Pete. And that is what these men don't understand. And that's what I was explaining to my son. Like, you're a teenager. You're learning. I'm teaching you how to be a good, self-sufficient adult, how to be a good roommate. I said, if you're your own roommate, if you live by yourself, you want to be able to be neat and tidy for yourself. If you have a roommate that's your friend, you want to be a good roommate to your friend. If you have a roommate that's a stranger, or maybe like if he does end up being able to go on the dorm, able to sleep at the dorm for university, well, you have to be a good roommate to that person who's likely going to be a stranger. And one day maybe you'll have a romantic partner. You gotta be a good, I guess I missed the recycling. You gotta be a good roommate to that person. Maybe one day you'll get married, or you'll continue to have a roommate, or maybe you'll just live by yourself. Whatever the case is, you need to be able to take care of your place. It's basic maintenance of yourself. You need to learn how to be a decent and responsible person. And my older son, he plays sports. He's the captain. He's a leader. I've seen it with my own eyes, how he jumps in and he does whatever needs to be taken care of. He helps to set stuff up, and then he helps to break it down. He wants to be one of the first people there, and he's almost always one of the last people out. Why? Because he's helping, because he cares, because he wants to show up and do a good job. And I said, you already have the skills. You have the skills to show up and do good. You just have to apply them here at home, So I'm training my kids. It's not easy. They're not that into it. They do resist. They make it hard. They're teenage boys. And my goal is to raise 2 men who understand what the patriarchal bullshit is about and how much it hurts everybody. Well, I said, a lot of men, they're told this patriarchal fucking nonsense, like, women are here to fucking serve you. And unfortunately, so many men, I'm going to open my curtains. So many men are like, cool, I like it. I won't argue. And then women go out into the world, and the grown-ass men that they're meeting are acting like fucking children. They're children who expect you to be their fucking mom. Now, it's one thing for me to be the fucking mom to my own children and to have to clean up after them and pick up after them, because they're teenagers, but they are children, and they're my children. And what I'm doing every single day, although it doesn't feel effective, I believe teaching your children that doing chores around the house is not determined by your gender, and that everyone has to be a contributing member of a household. If you live by yourself, or like I said, other people live with you. And I said, you guys are basically my roommates. Yes, you're my children, and I pay for everything, and I do most of the stuff here, but it is my job to train them how to be self-sufficient, helpful leaders, and not mooch who expects somebody else to frickin' do their basic care. Now I can't decide how they're gonna turn out. It's not up to me how they end up and who they end up being and how they choose to be. But it is up to me to at least train them that being a good and decent person involves picking up after yourself. And one or both of my children may end up being LGBTQ+. And so again, it doesn't matter, what gender they are or what gender their partner ends up becoming if they ever have a partner or roommate. None of that matters. What matters is teaching my children to be responsible, mature, helpful adults who understand that their basic needs it's not somebody else's job to do. All right, and with that, I really have to get to work. So, see you. Bye.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.
Join me on my website and YouTube and TikTok, catlovedreamingpeach.com. See you. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Hit the